In the 1920s flatlands of Kansas, lived a 10-year-old girl named Aria. She lived with her parents on a farm. The farm had been in her family for over 60 years. Aria loved her parents. She did not care that she was an only child, and had few friends. She had her chores around the farm and she enjoyed being alone and being able to read. Aria's heart was as colorful as the rainbow. She was kind to everyone she met. No one could say a bad word about her character. But she was often so engrossed in her own adventures that she forgot the world around her. She loved living on the farm with her parents. It was the only world that she knew. Life on the farm was a slow rhythm controlled by the 4 seasons of the year. It was not an easy life, but it was sure and steady. And her family had prospered. One day the family dynamics changed. A younger boy cousin came to live on the farm. His parents had been killed in a car accident. He was 5 years old. His name was Roy Jr. He was sad, lonely and afraid. At first Aria paid little attention to Roy. She was more interested in her books, toys and games. But in truth she resented Roy Jr. She understood it was not his fault. But still she wanted the life she had before he had came to live on the farm. So both little children were sad and didn't know what to do. The grown-ups decided to wait and see if the children could get accustomed to each other and accept the situation before they would act. So days passed and there seemed no hope in the situation. Sadness hung over the farm. However, as those days turned into a couple of weeks, a magical transformation began. As the golden sun started to dip below the horizon, Aria found an old book in her grandmother's attic. The peculiar old book was filled with stories of kindness and compassion. These were emotions that Aria had never had to think about. As she read more and more, Aria started to understand that for her to mature she would have to learn to give kindness and compassion to others and not always just think of herself all the time. Aria found herself reading the stories from the book to Roy Jr. To her amazement, each story brought a radiant glow to his eyes. The sadness that had hung over the farm seemed to melt as she read more and more stories to him. Both children start to truly love being together. They started to view each other as sister and brother. Aria realized that caring wasn't just about tending to someone's needs. It was about creating a world where love and joy could flourish. Roy would always be sad about losing his parents, but he now knew he had family that would love him. Inspired by the enchanted stories, Aria began to include Roy Jr. in her daily chores and adventures. From building towering block castles to chasing imaginary dragons, Aria and Roy Jr. became inseparable companions. Aria's once self-centered world transformed into a magical realm of shared laughter and boundless love. After a year of Roy Jr. living with Aria's family, everyone agreed that Roy Jr. should be adopted and become Aria's legal brother. The children were very happy with this. The children grew up on the farm. 20 years later they both served their country in World War II, Aria as a registered nurse and Roy Jr. as a tanker in the famed 761st Tank Battalion under General Patton. After fighting for freedom overseas, they would fight for it in the USA. They would both have a long and fruitful life. Their generation would end up being called the greatest generation.